than
Yes,
Jeremy,
once I
and I
did.
thought
I now I
his
have an
is car
electric one,
similar
where,
to
like not
James's, so I
electric,
thought it
but I
was
have
James.
a
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular Borough Council meeting of June 26, 2023 to order. This meeting has been properly advertised in the Home News Tribune of January 6, 2023, according to Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Zambrana.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilman Peretti.
Here.
Councilman Potter.
Here.
Councilman Revelinsky.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Please rise and join me in a moment of silence, followed by a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so now I will call on Steve Battella and our fire board to present the scholarship winners for this year.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a time for our annual scholarship awarding. We're very proud of the students in Milltown and all the hard work they put in. We received many applications, and it was really tough competition, but we're happy to announce our two winners tonight. Our first winner is going to be the Nicole Surace Memorial Scholarship. As you know or might not know, Nicole was a important part of our community who died at a young age, and we have this scholarship in memory of her, and we are happy to present it to Alice Melvin. And then our second scholarship is in memory of Lieutenant Charles Garbarini, who died at the World Trade Center on 9/11. We had a former fireman in Milltown who was a member of the FDNY, and we had said when it happened everyone was looking for charities to donate to or things to do, and we established a golf outing in his memory, and it's been going ever since. And that's where we get the funds to pay for these scholarships. And we are happy to present this to a family whose son won it previously, and they do a great job. This is for Tanner Tigalar. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for presenting here, and congratulations to the scholarship winners, and we wish you all the best. All right, now we will move on to approval of minutes from the June 12th, 2023 meeting. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilman Collins. Any comments or corrections?
I sent one correction in to Mimi, which was that the police report was from May 1st to June 7th, not May 31st to June 7th, but she has that for the record now.
Gotcha. Anyone else? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, great. So one abstention. Thank you. All right, next we have comments from the audience on resolutions. If any member of the public wishes to speak on any of the resolutions, please identify yourself to the clerk and say your name and address for the record. These comments are limited to resolutions listed on the agenda. Seeing none, I will close audience comments and move on to bills and claims. Will the clerk please read by title only, Bill Resolution 188, 2023.
Resolution 188, 2023 is authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount of $2,423,395.76.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that this bill list be approved as typed.
Second?
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have the introduction of resolutions. When voting on resolutions, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by the Borough Council will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. Are there any questions, or does anyone want to pull any resolution from the consent agenda?
I have one question, two questions,
Okay?
and then I'd like to pull 195.
195. Okay. You want to go ahead and ask your question now, or wait?
Sure.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if anyone else had anything.
Oh, okay.
On 191-2023, I guess this is more directed towards Mr. McClellan, but I just wanted to confirm, because I see we're applying for the DOT grant application with Northbrook Drive for 191, and then 192 is for Foch. And just want to see, are we prioritizing those as well in our submission? Are we notifying the state that one will be our priority number one and the other being priority number two?
Yeah, as you've said more times in these meetings, we write in a letter what your priority was, Foch Avenue, then Northbrook, so it's done by our letter. You'll get copies when we send them to you.
Okay, I didn't see it indicated in the resolution, so I just wanted to make sure we're on the same
Understand.
page.
Okay. No problem. Appreciate the follow-up.
So I got a question, Mike. So can we expect that to be done by this year or next year on Northbrook Drive?
Well, I would say your first selection is Foch, so I would say Northbrook, you'll get Foch and hopefully Northbrook next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, John, as I've said before, you never know if the state has additional monies. Maybe you get two roads, but I can't always guarantee it. Generally, over the years, and since there's been many, this program's been around since 1984, you just generally get enough for one road. Okay?
Thanks, Mike.
I have one quick question, too. I think this would be directed to Jeanette. When we are delayed in making a purchase because of, I guess, supply chain issues such as this Ford Interceptor vehicle, do we get that model year? Like, do we get the 2022 model year?
It was already ordered, so it just came in, and the reason we're doing the resolution, because the bank needs that for the financing.
Okay,
Because it was really already approved last year.
okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else?
So I had a question on 193, and I was just curious, because I didn't see it in here, what the costs are for these grant submissions for the bike path.
I'm sorry.
Is there a cost associated with submitting the grant for the bike path for Albert Avenue, the continuation phase two?
It's a nominal cost, if it's anything, because we're gonna use basically the same framework as last time. I don't know exactly, sure, probably less than $1,000.
Okay.
Okay?
I didn't see it in there, so figured I'd ask.
Okay, so will the clerk please read the consent resolution?
Whereas pursuant to the rules of council, the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special meeting, whereas the borough clerk has posted a consent agenda for this meeting. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and borough council of the borough of Middletown, County Middlesex, state of New Jersey, that the consent agenda previously prepared by the borough clerk be approved without the necessity of having the individual resolutions read by the borough clerk.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion that we pass this.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman O'Donnell, second by Councilman Potter. Any other discussion?
So that was excluding 195, correct?
Yes, correct, yes. So Mimi will read, it's for everything but 195. So will the clerk please call the roll?
This will make a motion to approve the resolutions 189, 2023 through 196, excluding 195, or I'm sorry, Yeah, no, it's
Yes.
195, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 195, 2023. Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
And motion carries.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read Resolution 195, 2023 by title?
This is authorizing certain personnel actions, Department of Utilities, George Ian Brown.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that this resolution be adopted.
A second.
And I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Any discussion?
Yes, I pulled this resolution because I'm a little curious as to the process here. I don't recall seeing any other notification, but I do see in here that we provided a letter from Ms. Larison on June 15th, making the offer to this particular individual, but yet the borough has not decided to do so by resolution. And I don't recall,
No, the offers are made first, because if he said he didn't want the job, so once he says he would like the job, or the applicant says they would like the job, then it comes before the governing body to be passed by resolution.
so we often receive applicants who show up for an interview and then don't want the job.
Yeah, it could happen, yeah, sure.
It just seems like we put the cart ahead of the horse here, that
Yeah, not at
council
all.
should approve it prior to.
Not at all, and all
Making
these,
the offer.
and this gentleman, we've been talking about hiring this gentleman for a while now, so it's not anything about putting the cart before the horse. He was qualified, we're lucky he was out there, we're gonna make the offer.
And it's always subject to municipal approval by the
Right.
council, so, I mean, if the council decided that it didn't want to do it, then it wouldn't happen.
Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
No.
Okay, now we will move on to introduction of ordinance. There will be no public input on introduction of ordinance 23-1527. The introduction summary will be published in the Home News Tribune on June 30th, 2023, and second reading, public hearing, and final adoption will be considered on July 24th, 2023. Full copies of the ordinance will be posted on the Borough website, on the bulletin board at the municipal building, and available at no cost in the office of the municipal clerk between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Clerk Marler, will you please read the ordinance by title only?
23-1527, an ordinance fixing the salaries and wages of various employees of the Borough of Milltown and providing the manner of payment thereof.
May I have a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 23-1527?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Peretti, second by Council President Zambrana. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
And Councilman Revelinsky?
No.
Motion carries to introduce.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to council reports. We'll begin with the Department of Public Safety. Councilwoman Margaret O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mayor. I will begin with the Fire Department's monthly report. For the month of May, there were 2 drills, 1 meeting, 19 fire calls, 15 special assignments, 4 work details, for a total of 41 incidents, 525.9 man-hours, and year-to-date, 1,783 man-hours. Some of the incidents included motor vehicle fires, structure fires, activated fire alarms, a building collapse, a motor vehicle rollover, smoke condition, brush fire, odor of gas. And I think that sums up all the different types of calls they had. The work details were essentially equipment checks weekly. And the drills included a debrief of a complex fire call and a Memorial Day cleanup. Their special assignments included some fun stuff like flying the American flag over the girls' high school softball game, the memorial service for former Mayor Gloria Bradford, placing flags at cemeteries across the tri-state area for departed members for Memorial Day, Ariella Hopkins Day, several Memorial Day services, and giving the Little League a tour of the fire headquarters. There was one membership application in the month of May. There is ongoing training every other Monday, preventative maintenance scheduled on all 4 apparatus, flow testing on their SCBA equipment, and there was a problem with the bay door for Vehicle 62, and that issue has been resolved. At every meeting, I always announce that members are needed, and candidates interested in joining the Milltown Fire Department are encouraged to stop by the firehouse on Monday nights at 6:30 or email joinmilltownfire@gmail.com. And your report was respectfully submitted by Chief of Department Raymond Jolly. Okay, I have a lot of notes about other things to share with you from other elements. So one thing I've been mentioning at several meetings was that the Office of Emergency Management will be coming to do a presentation. That will be coming up at a future meeting. I know we're keeping you all in suspense, so sorry about that. But please be patient because you will get to meet the folks involved and hear more about what they do. We had planned to complete a presentation with all the elements, the fire, police, and rescue, and then there was a fire in town that demanded everyone's attention, and we had to postpone completing that. So we will see you at a future meeting, and I know you're all looking forward to that. Let's see, a belated Happy Father's Day to everyone. I'm sorry I missed saying that on our previous meeting, but a couple of other things. Okay, there's a new speed sign in use on Oaks Avenue, so take a look at it at 25 miles an hour or less. But you'll be seeing that move around town at different times to encourage observance of speed limits. There were parking concerns expressed at the last meeting in the area of John Street and Main, and I can confirm that there was at least one ticket issued there. Parking illegally when someone stays there for a long time is a little bit easier to enforce than when it's a quick pickup, which it seems like that might be the case there, but there was definitely one ticket that was issued for that violation. There are flyers hot off the presses announcing our public safety forum. You'll see this on the website. There's some available here in the Borough Hall. And just reminding everyone that it will take place on Thursday, July 6th at 7 p.m. at the Senior Center. Please join us. We'll be discussing pedestrian, bike, and traffic safety, speeding deterrents, distracted driving, things like that. And anything that our residents want to discuss about public safety. Okay, what I wanted to close with was that I graduated from the Middlesex County Sheriff's Civilian Academy on Wednesday night. I've been telling you guys about this for several meetings, so I'm really excited to tell you that I successfully completed the program. They had a lovely ceremony that my family attended with me. Kudos to Sheriff Millie Scott for coming up with the idea so that average citizens could learn all about the functions of the Sheriff's Office, and compliments to all of the officers involved in conducting the training at the program, but especially to Brittany Brodniak, who was instrumental in coordinating the program in its entirety. Over time, I'll share more about what I learned, but I wanted to focus on one part of it tonight, which is called Project Lifesaver. You can access this countywide resource for anyone who has a risk of getting lost or wandering through our borough website. So look on our borough website for the Special Needs Registry, which is on the Police Programs page of our website. And the point of contact for the borough is Lieutenant Chris Johnson, and I think that would be the most important part, but not the only part of the program that I'd like to share. That you'll hear more about it at future meetings, so that I don't belabor my report time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, thank you. And I passed by the new sign on my way to work, and it's very, it's clever and different. It's not just hitting senior speed. It's thanking you for going under the speed limit. It's giving you a little warning if you're slightly above. And so thanks to the Milltown PD for turning that around so quickly. You know, it's going to be a helpful tool, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Yep. Thank you, Margaret. And congratulations on graduation.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the Department of Utilities. Councilman Dave Clark.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, Margaret, congratulations. I want to start
Thank
off by
you.
saying that. 3 short reports for you tonight, Madam Mayor. First one is Utilities Committee. With the approval of Resolution 195, 2023, I'd like to welcome George Ian Brown to the Water Sewer Department. Also, regarding the water utility project, CME will provide an update, but it appears that the work on Highland Drive will begin within the next few weeks. Once a detailed schedule is created for the other projects, it'll be provided to us. Planning Board. The next Planning Board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 5th in Milltown, 4th of July. We are 1 week away from the big day. Please visit the Milltown 4th of July website and keep an eye out for Facebook posts, door hangers, which should now be at every residence in town, that indicates everything for the big day. If anyone's interested in volunteering for the day, it's not too late. Please email the committee at milltown4th@gmail.com. And finally, please come out to support the 4th of July Committee's Dine to Donate all day today and tomorrow at Maria's. There'll be 4th of July merchandise for sale, along with wristbands for the rides and 50/50 raffle tickets. And Madam Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. And Vanna, are you going to be showing the goods later or now? Do you want to show them now?
You want to show them? Well, I don't have, I just realized I don't have a committee shirt, unless you want to see the back of mine.
All right.
Okay, please tell me again, what, Dave?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, show the shirt.
Here, I'm not exactly the one you want to use on model. Okay, the back of the shirt, not me. We had a record number of people this year on the shirt, just so you know. Thank you, everybody.
Great.
Thank you to all of our sponsors. and
We're
businesses.
all looking forward to it. for
So are
sure.
we,
And-
so are we. Looking forward to it. Thank you,
All
Madam.
right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Department of Public Works and Recycling. Councilman Rich Revelinsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pretty short report. DPW Department has been preparing for the 4th of July, assisting the Recreation Department with the pool opening. Did notice the brush and chipper was out today, picking up some of those leaves and debris. And mostly just the standard ongoing activities as we roll right into summer. We did have a discussion, Ralph and I, last week about putting together a road plan for multi-year so that we can stay on track as far as what roads need to be done and try not to deviate that so we avoid any confusion in the future with regard to grant submissions and hopefully get a little bit more of a head start on those moving forward. As for the library, I do have an update on that as well. Milltown Public Library. Please join us tomorrow, Tuesday, June 27th, for our summer reading kickoff party. The party starts at 5 p.m. and we'll have Mr. Zoom Balloon, sponsored by the Friends of the Milltown Public Library, face painting, Mr. Softy Ice Cream Truck, of which partial proceeds will be donated back to the library, and Maria's Pizza, as well as crafts, and you can sign up for summer reading. And that concludes my reports.
Okay, thank you. Well, it sounds, library activities sound like a lot of fun, so hope that everyone goes and joins them. Next, we have the Department of Environmental Health and Social Services, Councilman John Collins.
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
May I just ask a question?
Sure.
I noticed in our minutes that you indicated that there would be no Board of Health meetings between now and September.
That's
And
correct.
I was just wondering if you could update us at the future meetings in between now and then. about especially the condition with rats over on Ford Avenue.
Oh, did somebody make a complaint?
Well, we had several complaints about that, actually, and I did speak to some of the residents after the county had gotten out there, and the county said that basically the rats can't live in a debris pile, and therefore any rats that were found on the residents' property must have come from the residents themselves. So, note to all those residents out there, if you see a rat on your property, chances are you're going to wind up getting a statement that the rat is your responsibility, unless you can prove that it came from somewhere else. So that was fairly disappointing.
Perhaps, Councilman Collins, you can liaise to the Board of Health and get something more official
Yeah, they
than
put a
the,
report together every meeting we had, so,
yeah.
When was the last report?
yes.
Do you have the last report?
No. Right. But the-
I didn't want that
Do
to
we
wait
but I-
until
I-
September, so.
Do we have any violations from the Board of Health regarding the Ford Avenue situation?
So, yeah, I'd like to say that the Board of Health was out there, and they did issue about 6 or 7 violations to the property owner of Ford Avenue. And so we're just waiting, we're pending what is gonna happen from that, whether it gets abated or they get fined. We're still waiting for the outcome of that.
Did at any time the Board of Health inspector say that that was something that was the residents, the homeowners' concern?
No, that's something, I didn't hear that at all.
So did you talk to the residents or just the Board of Health?
No, I spoke to Victoria over at the Board of Health, and a whole group of, a group of county officials went out there, and they issued a handful of summonses or violations to the
So
property.
Councilman Collins, if you could, follow up on that report, and, we don't want to,
Sure, I can get a
have
report
an
for
undue burden on the residents there, so let's find out
We'll see if they
what
abated
what
it.
the violations
Yeah,
were and what they're doing to remediate
Because
it.
when they get a summons, then they have a chance to abate it, in
Correct.
the correction. and
Correct.
then If they don't do it, then they get fined, so.
Right.
Yeah, I'll call Victoria.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Department of Recreation, Councilman James Perez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, thank you, Ralph, and the DPW department for opening the pool, as Councilman Revelinsky already reported, and doing the work on the bathroom over there. So that was a big help and much needed improvement. And speaking of the pool, encourage residents to come by the pool, check it out, and hopefully sign up for a membership if you haven't already done so. A couple quick items for the rec department, particularly kind of in the spirit of resident participation. There's a couple ideas that actually just came out of resident submissions that the rec department is looking into. One being sunshade screens over at Michelin Park. There's not a lot of sun cover in that park anymore. So a few ideas came from some residents that frequent that park, and something the rec department is now trying to look into, as well as a running club. There's, again, another resident idea. So wanted to report that out to encourage other residents. If you have any ideas, particularly in respect to recreation department, please feel free to contact me or Ron Cephalone, the rec director, directly, and we can try to see if any of these ideas are able to something that we can do, sooner rather than later. Moving on to the revitalization committee, as most people here have some connection to Milltown 4th of July, the next big event after that is Milltown Day. It's a really fun event, and it's now signups are up and available on the Milltown website. So check that out. Again, maybe you're down participating with the 4th of July, you have an idea to then hopefully get inspired to participate at the next big Milltown event. And revitalization, hopefully you'll see the works of that committee, particularly the subcommittee that's focused on the Milltown planters led by Bunny Jasko. The Main Street planters are all planted, the hanging pots over the Main Street Bridge. She has a whole team of people who work with her, but Bunny is definitely the head honcho and runs that, and it comes out great. She does a great job with the library flowers. So please, if you have a chance, check them out, and if you want to get involved with that as well, also feel free to reach out to me or the revitalization committee. The contact information is on the website. And finally, the Human Relations Committee. The Human Relations Committee unfortunately had to have some resignations coming up for their committee members. due to some other conflicts. So we're in need of new members. This committee is really been focused on different diversity and inclusion events and ideas throughout town and kind of large-scale projects. Most recently, this year, we've been focusing on picking a location to do a mural to hopefully kind of twofold revitalize a building, as well as have the mural represent a diversity and inclusion idea, and also providing resources to Patina Avenue renaming. So it's a really interesting committee, and I encourage anyone who's interested in that as well to find the citizen leadership application form on the borough website, or reach out to me directly, and I can give you some more information about that. And that concludes my reports.
Great, thank you. I was at the pool opening day, and it looks great, so thanks to DPW and the rec department, the new paint for the slides and the mushroom, and everything looks really nice. So thanks to everyone for getting it up and running. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't been so great the last few days for people, but we have all summer to enjoy it. Next, we'll move on to the Department of Finance, Administration, and Planning. Council President Phil Zambrana.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have any finance report tonight. From the senior center, Jeanette and myself went and had a wrap session last week, actually the 22nd, with a nice lunch. Took any questions or any information that the seniors brought to our attention. They did ask about the when they might see the affordable housing open public meeting that was held there, and I said it's on YouTube, but when it's on Channel 15, we'll let Debbie know when that's available. Historical Preservation wanted me to let anyone in town know that Saturday, August 26th, they are planning on to be a part of the worldwide Play the Music on the Porch Day. Basically, what they're trying to do is to schedule some music playing either around the annex or on the grassy area of the annex that day. It's a worldwide event. If anyone would like to check it out, you can go to playmusicontheporchday.com. It'll give you all details about what's going on worldwide. And then my last report is about the Ford Avenue Agency. I know that on our last several meetings, we've actually had members of the agency themselves asking for refreshing or updating of the content on the website. So the request has already gone out to our webmaster to provide a fresh link, and the Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency lawyer or counsel is working on a updated mission statement so that folks can understand what the Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency can and cannot do, especially with what happened at Ford Avenue with the trailers a couple of weeks ago. And that concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Administrator, Ms. Larison, anything this evening?
I just have one item. So this Wednesday, the building will be closing early at 12:30 so that we can have our fourth annual employee appreciation get-together. So we look forward to that, and hopefully the weather will hold out, I'm hoping.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Our Borough Engineer, Mr. McClellan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items to go through tonight. First, let's talk about the Safe Streets to Transit Grant Program. We have worked with Councilwoman O'Donnell over the last couple of weeks relative to items that are eligible for this type of grant program. This is outside the road work that we talked about earlier. And in fact, one of the items are pedestrian signals and push buttons at key intersections, in addition to many other items that are eligible. The chief, I believe, and I'll let Margaret talk to it, gave 4 locations, which we think will score high in the overall scheme of things with these projects. This money is very competitive. Many of the towns apply for this, but there's no harm in putting an application together. Basically, the locations that the chief provided are the walk or the crosswalk between JFK School and West Church Street, between the school and library building. The second location would be Coulter Avenue, linking the bike path that runs actually from Washington Avenue through the back along the lake or the pond between Albert Avenue Park and Mill Pond Park. Washington Avenue and JFK near the Post Office and American Legion by the helicopter. And then crosswalk between Main and Violet. So basically what I believe the request is that we would install a solar-powered flashing signal that when button is pushed, the light goes on. You've seen these before. You actually have one on Main Street, not far from Ford Avenue. They're effective. The cost for the installation is about $50,000 for these 4 locations. You're talking about an application for grant funding about $200,000. So we've seen these work effectively. We can't guarantee the financing. We hope that you'll get the money. $200,000 is not an outrageous amount to apply for, and seems like a reasonable request. The program is due, obviously, by the end of the week, July 1st. We can package these, and the resolution basically confirming them can be done at your next meeting in July, which is something that DOT does because they recognize that some towns need to spend some time deciding what projects to do. Okay.
Thank you for your work on that grant application, and I hope that we have the support of council, because we have talked quite a bit in the last few meetings about ways to improve pedestrian and traffic safety, and we think those are ones that have been on the police department's mind for quite a while. There was a list that was created when the very first signs like that were brought into town, and we're talking about some of the ones that didn't make the cut at that time, but we're hoping that we can get some funding to get more of those out there.
Okay, second on my list is an update as requested regarding the borough's water system improvements. Understand that with any one of these projects, there's a need to do test pitting, which has been performed. This week, the contractor plans to continue furnishing his materials and finalize their bypass approach for the Chestnut area. You may remember when we did the other section, there's a water line that has to be installed above grade. It has to be pressure tested, disinfected, and then the service is connected to it. And then once that's done, then the work can be done with the main lines. So that'll be happening next week. Obviously, there's concerns about the holiday, and we'll make sure that we alert our inspectors and the contractor about the impending parade. Following the bypass installation in the Chestnut area, the water main installation will begin, and the valve cut-ins and the sort. So we will provide additional detail regarding the schedule once they get started out there with the work.
Thank you, Mike.
No problem. And lastly, we have challenged our water wastewater department to review some videotape records that were provided to our office by Mr. Don Herman. The borough had hired a contractor to do fairly detailed videos of the main on Foch in addition to the laterals, and we're finding it very telling. Just to answer a question the council asked me last meeting, the test pits and the borings will be done after the holiday.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any questions?
Mike, I had a question.
Sure.
Councilman Revelinsky had a good idea of putting a 4-way stop sign up on Oaks and Clay Street. What will we have to do to go through with that?
So years and years ago, the DOT had, they basically have transferred the ability to review those things to your municipal engineers. So we would do a small analysis, I want to call it a study because it makes it seem like it's something large. And then the study has to be prepared per standards for NJDOT, and then you submit it to them for their review and approval. So it just takes action by the mayor and council authorizing to do it, and we would then move to go through and put the sign in. But you got to get the study first done, and then obviously then it's done.
I think the credit for that idea goes to the resident who came to one of our previous meetings, Mr. Rose, for bringing that to our attention, and it's something that the Public Safety Committee will be addressing.
Let me say that it doesn't always get approved. There's certain standards that have to be met, both pedestrian and vehicle loads. So it's not something, over the years, I think how many we've done, not all of them get approved.
Right.
Because of there's certain criteria have to be met.
But there are no sidewalks there, so I think this one may be put up high on the list. There's no sidewalks in that whole area. Yeah, so
Okay.
hopefully, fingers crossed.
Okay.
So
Wanna
what
make
do
sure
we
everyone-
have to do to go forward with this?
Then you have to authorize them to do the analysis, and we'll get rolling on it.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
What would something like that analysis cost?
Less than 10,000.
Sounds good to
I
me.
think, I thought you might.
Less than 5? Less than 3?
Less than 10?
We'll hold it to 2.
Well, that'll.
Will you give me a chance to have the guys check it
So that'll
out?
come out of the next, the Public Safety Committee will either recommend or not.
Yes, the Public Safety Committee is obviously very focused on the public safety forum that's forthcoming, and we may get some additional ideas from our residents, such as the one that Mr. Rose provided. So we'll look at all the ideas that come from that and discuss those further in our next meeting.
Right, and get some feedback from the police and everyone.
Yes, well, we'll have both Chief Kennelly and Lieutenant Johnson at the public safety forum with us, so.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
Thank you.
That's the public safety meeting in what, July 6th on Thursday?
Correct.
Thursday, July 6th at 7 PM at the senior center.
Do we, and Mike, do we need the DOT, I'm assuming we want the police to also recommend that on top of Borough Council, but.
Well, the
do we
police
need
support
that?
would be very helpful. I'm glad you brought that up, because, as I said, these things, there's a fairly detailed analysis. We probably have to do counts. The police involvement would be very helpful,
No, okay.
including accident reports, all the things that would go into a study like that. So it's not something that I just pop out, so there's work to be done, okay?
So
Thank
I had a couple of questions here, and I'll go in reverse order here. Chestnut, the test pits, the bypass line, are those homes getting metered for the duration of that work for the water service they've received?
Well, that's a question that the borough's policy has to be looked at. When we're feeding water through the
Those bid?
temporary line, okay, it goes through generally to the connection inside the house. So it generally feeds the house through the meter, okay? So depending on what's the setup inside, there's a question as to whether some people do get bypassed. It's temporary, and you can calculate the bill based upon an estimate. That's really your decision. But most times when that happens, it depends on the town's policy.
And do we put any sort of meter on those bypass lines so we can account for how much water was actually going through the bypass lines?
Not normally, no. We can. It's not normally done. Can be done, though. I mean, it's really basically your domestic consumption is all it is.
I don't mean necessarily for the home. I'm talking about, the line overall, that bypass line that goes through. Just so that if we get a crazy high bill from New Brunswick, that we can compare it and say, okay, well, yeah, we saw 3,000 or 10,000 or 30,000 gallons go through this bypass line, even if the individual homes weren't metered at the time.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it, see what makes sense. It can be done. It's just a matter of going through and putting the meter in the line.
And lastly, the Safe Streets grant application, I'm glad to hear that, that we're looking at that, and hopefully the Public Safety Committee will approve it, but I'm curious, because I brought this up a couple of times, and I'm wondering how we're now able to apply for a grant application for a mid-block crossing, because I've brought it up in the past about having a light or a flashing light over there between JFK crossing Washington, and I was always told that this is a mid-block crossing, and you don't want to do that sort of thing and have some sort of signal there. When I look at that, and when I look at the crossing over there at Albert Avenue Park to the Borough Park walking path, that one appears to be mid-block. And don't get me wrong, I don't want anyone to think that I'm not for it. I think they're great locations. I'm just curious as how we went from last year, this is not a good idea, to suddenly this year it is a good idea.
We have a mid-block crosswalk in front of Park Avenue. It's Park Avenue, Parkview School.
And people utilize the crossing of Washington Avenue across from JFK constantly. But I was always told in the past, we can't do that. Can't put a flashing light there because it's mid-block and that's not safe. Doesn't meet the standard.
Keep in mind, this is not a flashing light. It's a push button that basically then causes the light to flash.
Like we have up here on Janicourt.
Closer, one I remember offhand is one on Main Street by
Main Street.
Fort Avenue.
Same-
That's the
same
one.
thing.
You basically see the crosswalk light up, and it's really just a supplement to the crosswalk itself. And generally, we have found that they're quite effective.
Do you think we could get lights in the street, Mike, like they do? I think Metuchen has that.
Good question, John. The NJDOT doesn't support that. That was something that Metuchen did. It's probably state known that, and it was a nice effect, but not something that NJDOT followed up with.
How about like concrete pavers in there, like brick ones? Do they support that?
You can, yeah. There's all kinds of discussion about that. Your tripping hazards are always the problem with the concrete pavers. We can tell you horror stories where the pavement settled, pavers didn't, or vice versa. So I'm not sure that will work for you. I'd put these in and see how they work, if they're effective. We found them very effective, especially now because the solar power runs them. You don't really have to even tie into your electric service.
I know people have a lot of problems over here by the pharmacy going across by Ford Avenue. They just don't even realize there's a crosswalk. Some of them just drive right through. I know the police were given tickets there one year. I don't know, maybe we should go take a look at that.
I think it's better now that you put the push button or something there. That's what the problem, that's why I think, actually, Public Works put that one in themselves. And I'm gonna put an option in there, you may wanna run power to your own electric service, because you have your own electric utility, but we'll put an option in there, either with the solar panels or other. If we can save some money for you, because you have your own electric company connect to maybe save you some money.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyone else? All right, now we'll move on to our Borough Attorney, Mr. Vignola.
Just one or two quick things. I know that in light of the current circumstances over on Ford Avenue, there's been some question as to what the borough is doing and not doing. So as the mayor and council may recall, last year there were a number of municipal summonses issued to the property owner, which were then removed to the bankruptcy court because the property owner is currently in bankruptcy. There was a motion filed by the borough to return those back to the municipal court that's been pending for a number of months, and I reached out to bankruptcy counsel but wasn't able to connect prior to tonight to find out what the status of that is and when we might actually get some sort of resolution to that. At our next meeting, hopefully I'll have some update, but really for the time being, the borough's taken action, the borough's awaiting action. It's just we're dealing with a property owner who is availing themselves of the bankruptcy, and that's something that's slowing down the process. Okay, that's what I have.
Peter, I got a question for you. Have we heard anything about changing the name of Patain? Because, Gary Rittman, I talked to him, and he found this serviceman that he died in World War II, and he was a resident of Milltown. So I'm like, if, we're supposed to honor their, war dead, so.
The mechanism for changing the name of the road isn't difficult, it's the ramifications, and I think that's something that the borough wanted kind of inspected a little before we started the process, because the two residents are likely going to want to know what does this mean and what's going to happen. So hopefully by next meeting I can get something out to all of you with some of the things that I've identified that'll need to happen likely for those residents. I would welcome any input because it really isn't a legal question. It's more of a a collective brainstorm as to what these people are going to need to do, and perhaps lining up some resources for them so that when the borough does step in ultimately and do that, they aren't out on an island.
Well, Russ said he would pay for it, so.
That's awesome.
And didn't you say that the HRC
I was
is
gonna
addressing
say,
that?
the HRC has been looking at that for a couple of years now, so they've been trying to work and try to put together like all the, what could be the cost, and try to work with the borough for that too, John, to
If
figure
you
out.
have somebody over there who has been working on
We
that.
do.
Yes,
please, if you
Patty
can-
Murray has been spending some
Patty,
time, yeah,
okay.
so.
Then, yeah,
so,
I'll reach out to her.
Yeah, but I'll also connect with you, Peter, like, we've been trying to put together a soft list of some things and try to figure out what's the best way to communicate and help with that too, so.
Right, and I think that's really the thing that has been, the focus has been making sure that if the council was to take that action, that those residents who were impacted
Yeah,
have.
no burdensome
you know,
to the residents,
have somewhere to go for the answers to their questions.
I'd much rather honor a U.S. serviceman than a French general any day. That's just me.
I can understand that.
Anyone else have any questions? All right, on to the mayor's report. So, this is a very busy and exciting time of year in the borough of Milltown. I will say that I had the pleasure of attending multiple graduation and promotion ceremonies, so I want to wish all of the class of 2023, whether it be from JK, Spotswood, or any other high school and/or college, much congratulations and best wishes for your future endeavor, and have a great summer. I wanted to thank all of the council people who attended the town hall about rehabilitation, redevelopment, development. I thought it was a really good explanation of affordable housing, and we'll look forward to getting that on the Channel 15. But people, if you have any lingering questions after, feel free to reach out. And thanks to the Councilwoman O'Donnell and the Public Safety Committee for really quickly putting together this town hall regarding public safety. It became an issue and sort of escalated, and so it's really nice to see how we can quickly, address people's concerns by getting together and listening to what the residents have to say, and seeing, what avenues we could take to to act on that. As I continue to go through thanking, I want to thank the 4th of July Committee. I know there are, I'm not going to try and name every member, and I see several of them here, and if I forget somebody, I will feel badly. So every single one of you, I think everyone in the borough should know how hard you all work to prepare. You know, it's a partnership. While they are a 501c3 organization, they certainly partner with the borough, and we have our police and OEM preparing, we have DPW preparing, and it's something that, you know, it's like a week countdown now, and everybody gets really excited. The town gets a little extra spruced up, so it's great, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone next Tuesday. It looks like the weather is going to be nice that day.
Fingers crossed.
Right, right. And same thing with, you know, the pool is open now, the camps will be open, so there is a lot of good things happening, and, you know, be mindful as the children are out. You know, we're always mindful of it when they're going to school to be safe, but it's just probably more important to be safe now with lots of people walking around town, which is a good thing. We want everyone to walk around, but just be mindful of your speed and pay attention. Okay, so that's all I have for now, and I will move on to old business. Does any member of the council have any old business to bring before us this evening?
Oh, Madam Mayor, I found a copy of the Health Department report if you want it.
Oh, thanks.
Last Board of Health meeting.
So that's not the one, that doesn't have anything,
No, there's nothing in there yet.
oh, that's from April, okay. All right, yeah, so what we were trying to find out, John, is what the violations were for Fort Avenue, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll call Victoria.
All right, thank you. Any other old business?
Yes, two items. Number one, where are we with the transformers being removed at the old substation?
I don't have an update for you on that.
Can we have an update by by the next meeting?
Yeah, I can even send you an email. I'll talk to John tomorrow.
Yeah, please. I'm
Yeah.
patiently awaiting that one. Schwendeman property.
Tomorrow. I spoke to the QPA today. I was waiting for some additional information, and he promises he was gonna have it at the end of today. The RFP will go out tomorrow, and I can forward you a copy of that as well.
Please, thank you.
Any other old business? Hearing none, I will close old business and move on to new business. Does any member of the council have any new business to bring before us this evening?
I'm just curious in regards to the introduction of the ordinance 23-1527, and I'll consider that as new business since it was introduced tonight. And I'm just wondering why this was introduced this evening.
So there's a couple of reasons. So there's some new titles that are being added. And so that's why the ordinance is being introduced. The resolution that appointed Mr. Brown is a title that was not contained in our existing ordinance. After conferring with the auditor to find out the process, they said that it was perfectly appropriate to put a resolution forth to hire someone, but that the ordinance would have to be updated prior to the end of the year. So it's just coincidence, and the reason that I've been working with the union, because there are not only this title, but other additional titles that were added, and I was waiting for the blessing of the union, the blue collar union, the OPEIU, for those titles, which I received, but I didn't receive that in time to add that item to this agenda, so that'll be on the next agenda.
Yeah, because I remember when we adopted one of these, what was that, back in January, February? We were provided with a copy of what the old range was, as well as the new, or at least a copy of the previous ordinance. And so I look through this and I see a whole bunch of numbers and a whole bunch of positions.
None of the
I don't know which ones are
positions
new.
changes.
Well, we have new positions, right?
Okay.
So I see a whole bunch of stuff on here with really no reference, and since this wasn't talked about at any previous meeting, hence my vote no to introduce this, because I'd appreciate some explanation on these things before we even introduce an ordinance. Because as you know, these take time to amend and reintroduce or adopt. And I just have a lot of questions on this one, so I'd appreciate to know which ones are new positions and which salaries changed and what the plan is for those that creates these changes in the
Well, at the
future.
next meeting, you'll get all of that with the,
I'd like it before the next meeting so I could see, so I know whether or not to approve or
There's
disapprove. the
there's like a red
ordinance.
line copy, I'm assuming?
So, if I could interject there, so Rich, if you have any questions about any of these issues, I mean, these are all things to discuss within the Personnel Committee. Feel free that when you see them show up on an agenda, there's not enough information, call me, text me, I'll even stop by your house and we'll go over it in more detail.
I was on a work meeting this week, I got back on Friday, so I did pick up my packet.
Yep, no, here, totally
You
hear
know, again, in advance, I think, prior to getting this on a Friday and seeing over the weekend and having to
Yep.
call you out of whatever you've got planned for the weekend, talking about it in advance before it's introduced would be beneficial for
Yes,
everybody.
yes, I agree.
Now, I had a question. How many of these positions are like, how would I say this? Are like, because of the change in the union contracts versus the ones that aren't?
there's 4 changes that are in there.
So some of the increases are mandated?
There's no increases, that's just a range.
Oh, that's just a range?
Those are not salaries, it's a salary range. It's the same ordinance that we normally don't really discuss ahead of time. It's the ordinance that's needed in order to satisfy the requirement for everyone's salaries. Any salaries that are part of a bargaining agreement, they're listed in that agreement. And anyone who's not part of a bargaining agreement, that resolution was already passed at the beginning of the year. So these are just inserting titles. The salary for which the water sewer repairer number 2 is listed on the resolution that was approved tonight.
Also,
So it's and if you look on there, you'll see water
we
sewer repairer 2, and it's just a blanket range.
Yeah.
And the salary, which is set by the bargaining agreement, thus my discussion with the unions to say, here's gonna be the salary guide. That salary is picked out of there, so it wasn't just,
So we hired the guy before we gave him the job title?
Well, you can do that in the fact that you can create the title, you can hire somebody by that, even if it's not in the salary ordinance. You just have to update the salary ordinance before the end of the year.
And do we know what effect this is gonna have on taxes?
Well, the water department is down a person, so it's not gonna, and it's paid
But it's
through
just
the
that one-
water
that one line.
utility. It's-
Overall, we're adding 4 different positions?
No, just because the positions were added in doesn't mean that they were filled or new hires, or there might be promotions down the road. There are some title changes that are gonna occur that have no significant, there's no,
No
it's just a
significant,
lateral,
okay.
just to firm things up within the department. For example, the water sewer department, your entry-level person their title is laborer.
Right.
But it's not water sewer laborer, it's blanket laborer. So at the unions, when we were in negotiations, one of the things that they had, would like to have seen was now that since we've split the utilities, that we kind of firm up who works where. And so some of those titles it's not gonna have any monetary, it's just gonna be just a title change.
Does that then prohibit us from utilizing one person in water and sewer to assist the DPW department or vice versa?
No.
Then why the need for title change?
Because there's certain aspects in the contract that spell out water and sewer people get X, and so it just makes it cleaner.
I don't get it.
So you're not gonna pull the water sewer gentleman out of there to pick garbage, but the DPW people will help with water main breaks, because it's part of the road
But
department.
then they would get paid according to a water sewer.
No, the
Salary.
salaries are, so again, the labor position is the same salary for water sewer as it is for DPW.
Well, if we can see a copy of all those changes, red line, the new
Sure.
introductions, as well as any that are, these are all union positions as well? No, there's some non-union positions on here?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, I'd like to know which ones are union and non-union as well, that would be helpful.
Sure.
Anyone else have any new business? Okay, seeing none, I will close new business and move on to audience comments. The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. The council will respect the public's time by refraining any comment until the speaker has finished. Please state your name and address for the record when you come to the podium. Next.
Evening. Lee Weisenberger, 99 JFK Drive. I'd like to touch on a couple subjects tonight. First off, with the Ford Avenue mess over there. Like you said, it seems like the truck use over there is not zoned for that. So he gets fined for that, but it just gets tied up in the bankruptcy courts.
It's pending litigation, so I think I went about as far to the line as I could tonight, talking about it.
Okay.
You know,
Well-
to the extent the underlying zoning of that property is light industrial,
Okay,
so.
let's go a different route. So when he gets violations on the property, do the violations increase cost-wise?
We're not gonna, I mean, that's.
I mean, by borough ordinance.
What any violation penalty that would be imposed would be done by whatever the tribunal who was adjudicating those summonses and making the decision on whether or not there was a violation. So,
Okay.
I can't, there's certainly mechanisms that allow for it, but ultimately, it's gonna be the decision of someone who makes that decision, and that's not this body.
Good enough, appreciate it. Tree removal in town yet? Is there a tree removal list anymore? For, yeah, I'm just, like I said, people are asking me and I'm passing it along.
You should direct them to the DPW, because there is an existing list. They have to file an application to have a tree removed.
Right,
There is an
within
ongoing
the
list.
township 10-foot right away from the curb.
Correct,
That's-
right, or they could use a report of concern or contact DPW. If
They
they
sh-
have a, on the borough property, if there's a tree that in their opinion is dead or needs to be removed, they can, add it to, make it to the DPW's attention.
Okay, appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't mean to correct you. They really should file the application with DPW, and then they'll go
gotcha.
and look at the
Yeah,
tree.
yeah.
You don't put it through,
Oh, okay.
you can put it on report of concern, but really what needs to happen is you file the application, and then they'll go out, inspect the tree, and make a determination of whether or not it's in the right of way, or, whether it's our tree or the resident's tree.
Okay.
I gotta say that I had Tom come out and he looked at the tree over in Albert Avenue, he took it down within a couple days, and it was really good, because it was dead, and it's hanging over the road and the sidewalk, so he took it down and did a good job.
That's what I said, there's questionable trees yet, just like I said, just curious at what
Yeah, they have a
program we're
process.
in
Yep.
right now.
It's good to hear. We've taken down quite a number of trees over the last
No,
couple of
we've
years.
done a fine job.
We need to put a
Everybody
couple more up.
appreciates that. So, moving along, I've touched on the water line up by Elkins, like I said. That's been there for a long time, running behind Cortland and stuff.
Yeah,
Curious why that wasn't on the tax maps as an easement?
it's in North Brunswick. Not in Milltown.
Once again, even though it's on the borderline, and,
No, it won't be situated in Milltown, it's only tax parcels in Milltown.
and like I said, previously, like I said, just trying to clear up the language, you said it was ours.
It is yours,
And-
yeah, and an easement in North
Right.
Brunswick, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So it's, I don't know if it's on the North Brunswick tax maps, I could check that for you. But I know it's on Milltown's.
Okay, so the whole line, all the way down?
Yeah, it's
is on the
situated-
North Brunswick
yeah,
side?
yeah.
Okay.
So, Mike, we have an easement with them? Did we buy it, or they just gave it to
You know,
us?
God, that's even before my time. Even before my time. So I don't know whether we bought it or whether the borough negotiated with, and the owner of the property at the time, I'm not even sure that it was. And the county owns it now, but prior to that, it was owned by a private developer. I'm not sure it was before that, so. The manager, one of the partners of the firm, manager, of course, he's since passed on, John Olger, but may he rest in peace. But I could probably try and find out, but somehow you acquired it. And your pipeline situated in, matter of fact, Don Herman was out there trying to find whether pressure release valves, and did find one recently for us.
But we definitely have access there. We don't have to worry about having to move that into Cortland in the future.
I'm sorry, Rich.
We definitely have access there, rights to access.
Yeah. Okay. And, you know, you do from time to time. Fortunately, there's been very little problems with that line since he put it in 1972, so, you know. But we do have those air release valves, and that's what we're concentrating on, because we get that air out of it, we think that may help get water over to Janet Court, which is what we're hoping to be able to do.
And what's the proximity of that to the utility lines that are over there? Do we know?
I think the electric line is, well, it crosses, obviously, it goes across. So I think where that valve, where the valve pad is not in the area of electric lines.
Sorry, Lee, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. I can help out with that a little bit. Like I said, J&J gave you the original.
Oh, is that who gave it to us? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
but then DKM
Yes,
came in.
DKM was the name of
Right.
the company. We
And-
hired his land
and
pumping station.
DKM did grant an easement for that entire line going through the property.
That's correct, for your
But they
transmission.
kind of don't touch on
The old one.
the old one.
Right.
So, yeah, and then now the county, like you said.
That's right.
So,
So J&J owned it, okay, so see, you taught me something. See, I'm,
yeah.
So it's
no.
really not in anybody's
It's
backyard.
very
No.
confusing to track it, believe me.
That's what
because
they
there's
came out
a
and
lot of
told us, it
names.
was in somebody's backyard. I thought it was like, you know, going across between houses.
Are you talking about the
That's-
water?
We're
line?
talking water
This is
now.
the water
The
line.
elec- Yeah, he's talking, you're talking about the
Oh, I thought
electric,
you
he's
were-
talking about
This-
the water.
yeah, this is-
The water line's different.
Yeah, so, but, and I'm curious, I've asked this question before, but the dam was removed from the tax maps. I'm just curious again, why?
I'm not sure that the dam was removed from the tax maps. 'Cause-
Yeah, it's not showing now.
Yeah, did you find mapping that showed it on the
That's the
tax
current map. It's been on previous maps.
Well, the
So you're
tax
sa-
maps?
You're saying it
Yeah.
disappeared from the current map? It was there
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, tax maps are really for tax parcels, and
I understand that, and I did pull up the regulations on the tax maps,
okay, good.
and it's pretty good.
If you could show me the old maps, I'd love to take
Right.
a look at it, see if I can answer your
Yeah,
question.
because, once again, Ford Avenue, I get really disappointed with the redevelopment of it and what's going on over there.
As we all are.
And, yeah, and they're, you know, my opinion, like I said, I don't know what Mr. Berger's trying to do. Like I said, separating that pond from that property. I get it somewhat, but in doing that, he separates the dam. And that really gets me. Like I said, trying to follow that. Because I did pull up the, the tax maps, regulations and standards. And like you said, you can put just about anything you want in there for the town, especially a landmark. And the dam is a landmark. And it's also used in a lot of the deeds, because measurements are taken off the wing walls of the dam for the properties next door. And so that's why I was just curious why it was removed, but, or was this an oversight?
Can you just, if you can, shoot me a copy of what you have, and I'll see if I can figure it out for you.
Yeah. Okay. And title search, anything?
They are in the clerk's office.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay. Yeah, that's enough for, well, we'll go one more. Pond cleanup. What program is that under, that you were applying for?
The raking grant, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Is, I've been pulling up stuff, there's a lot of programs out there run by the state, and dredging is one of them. And it seems like the property owner has to be involved with that. So I'm curious with just the pond cleanup, de-snagging, or what do you want to call it? I'm not,
We call it desilting and desnagging. yes.
okay, right. So is he involved with that? Does he have to grant permission?
You talking about the owner of Ford Avenue?
Yeah, the owner of the pond.
We have not requested he be involved in that.
You know, that's, I'm just curious, because like I said, there's multiple programs out there for dam restoration and stuff where he can apply for a low-interest loan to repair stuff and do things. And that's what I said, I'm trying to figure this out then, why the town, in these other programs, the town has to be a co-signer to that. And then if they renege or whatever happens, you can go after him and attach property. and make them pay. And so that's why I'm just trying to get this clear as to how we're going about this. So, but could you give me the exact title though, or the statute or whatever? like
I'll
you
send you
said?
a copy of the application.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate it. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing, oh, yes. Hi, Jason. Sure.
Jason Kahn, 1 Clayton Court. The affordable housing meeting is on Channel 15, so I just wanted to give you all an update from the beginning. But as Phil had mentioned, it is on YouTube and has been on YouTube since last week. So I know that there have been many people in town who have viewed it, which is great because the meeting was very informative. And so if you haven't had a chance to look at it and you want to get some more information, rather than have some preconceived information, I would say go ahead, take a look, and watch it. And again, it should be on Channel 15 if you prefer to watch it on television, or it is on social media.
Okay, perfect. See, ask. and-
Thank you, Jason,
and-
because
thank
we
you.
had quite a number of seniors who probably want to go to Channel 15 as opposed to going to YouTube.
Exactly.
And they started asking questions, and I said, just wait until it's on Channel 15. Every question that was asked, that you could think of asking, was answered.
Yes.
Just watch that taping.
I concur.
Yes.
Yes, I
And
mean,
thank you,
of course,
Thank you for filming as well.
absolutely,
Thank you,
not a
Jason.
problem.
Thank you, Jason.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close audience comments and move on to council comments. Does any member of the council have any final
I
comments?
just have one, Madam Mayor, I just want to thank Councilman Revelinsky for agreeing with laying out the roads with DPW. That's something that we put into place, I want to say 3 years ago. That has become part of the capital plan. As long as the capital plan stays in place, that will continue to move year after year after year. We already know what the next 3 years' worth of roads are. That's how far ahead we are. We just have to make sure that we continue to apply for grants, get that money, and then go forward.
Can you provide me with a copy of that plan?
The capital plan?
Yeah.
We
So I see
all-
what
we
roads
all-
there are, because we had some confusion this year about which one to go with next, so
No,
it was as if there
we'll
was
get you,
no...
we'll get you what you need, as well as what the next 3 years' worth of streets are. Because they all come from DPW, Ralph.
Anyone else have any
Yes, Madam
comments?
Mayor. You want to go, Dave?
Go ahead.
No, I'd just like to say thanks to the public safety for putting the 25 mile an hour up on Oaks Avenue. And don't forget your donation to the 4th of July committee.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, John.
Yeah. And just everybody have a safe and happy 4th of July. And thanks, Mr. Dave, for the job you do.
Thanks, John, but it's not me, it's the whole committee, but I do appreciate it. And it does, like Madam Mayor, like you said, it takes a village.
Yep.
And it certainly does. And thank everybody, DPW, Public Safety, everybody. And we're looking forward to this Tuesday. And I also would like to congratulate our scholarship winners
Yes.
today
Yes,
and
that was
wish
very
everybody a
nice.
happy summer.
Very nice. Anyone else?
Just one other comment, kind of a question as well. I received a couple of notifications last week about the clerk's office being closed. I know currently they have some staffing concerns, but the bigger concern was that it said to go to administration, and then administration was closed. So I'm just wondering if we can do something to tidy that up, because, you know, obviously we're here to serve the public, and if they come down and they've got nowhere to go, that leads to an unhappy public, general public.
Anyone else?
Oh, and keep your fingers on the 4th.
Any other final comments? All
Say a
right.
prayer for good weather on the
Yes.
4th.
Yeah. So now it's close council comments, go on to mayor's comments. Wish you all a very happy and safe 4th of July. We'll look forward to seeing everyone on Milltown's fun day. So thank you all, and with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilman Collins. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.
There's never the opposing. How can you never ask if anyone's opposing?